Hi, Paul Drew here from the Studio Rats. I'm a songwriter, mixer and producer of over 20 years. The guys at Waves have asked me to show you how to get radio-ready sounding vocals using Waves Horizon. Waves Horizon is a plugin bundle of 83 plugins, perfect for mixing, producing and mastering. Now, before we get started, let's have a listen to the vocal we're going to be working with.
Stained glass paint on the window light, pouring through bright like you and I. Bathe in a stream, water fills my eyes. Believe your truth in a world of lies. Who was I before I saw your shape? I was hiding underneath my shame. Who was I before I saw your face? You found my heart in an empty place.
As you can hear, the vocal's been recorded really nicely and it's a great vocal performance. But I think there's a couple of things that we can do to this vocal just to improve it. What I'd like to do is just to smooth out any little vocal inconsistencies. And to do that, I'm going to be using Waves Tune LT. The first thing we have to do with Waves Tune LT is just to capture the vocal. Now I'm in G major, so let's set that there. And let's capture that vocal.
Stained glass paint on the window light, pouring through bright like you and I.
Now what we can do with Waves Tune LT is to actually tune all the notes individually, but because the vocal performance is so good, I don't really need to alter that much. So what I'm going to do is to tune everything globally within the whole track. I'm just going to push the select all button. I'm going to slow down the speed just a little bit. Let's bring back the note transition. And I don't want to correct this vocal 100%, so I'm just going to bring back the ratio.
Stained glass paint on the window light, pouring through bright like you and I.
Even though that's not doing that much, it's tightened up the vocal, but it's still kept the performance. The next thing that I want to do is to EQ the vocal. Now, I'm going to be using VEQ3 for this. Now, I think this vocal's been recorded quite nicely, but let's add a bit of character to it by turning on the analog button.
Stained glass paint on the window light,
And let's bring in the high pass.
pouring through bright like you and I.
I don't want to add any low frequency to this vocal. I just want to make it brighter to make it cut through the mix. So I'm going to bring in 4.8K and let's just turn it up by about 3 dB.
Bathe in a stream, water fills my eyes. Believe your truth in a world of lies.
Now with this vocal, I'd like to have a really nice airy top end. So I'm going to bring in the high shelf, just boost it up just a little bit.
Stained glass paint on the window light.
So that's really brought out the airiness in a vocal. Let me just bypass it and you can hear the difference.
Stained glass paint on the window light. Stained glass paint on the window light.
The next thing that I'd like to add is some compression. And one of my favorite plugins from Waves is the CLA2A. The CLA2A is a really fantastic sounding compressor and it's great on vocals. And you can drive it quite hard and it still remains transparent. Right, let's hear the vocal and turn up the peak reduction.
Bathe in a stream, water fills my eyes. Believe your truth in a world of lies.
So that's really evened out the dynamics in the vocal and made it sit in the mix. Because we've added some compression to the vocal, it's actually enhanced some of the sibilance in the vocal. So I'm going to tame that using Renaissance DeEsser.
Stained glass paint on the window light.
That's really taming the sibilance in the vocals, but I think the frequency could be a little bit higher. So what I'm going to do is click on this button here, and that's going to monitor the de-essing frequency. Now I'm just going to bring back the threshold just a little bit, and let's hear the vocal now.
Stained glass paint on the window light, pouring through bright like you and I. Bathe in a stream, water fills my eyes.
Just by using those 4 plugins, it's really sitting nicely in the mix. Now we've corrected the problems in that vocal, I think it's time we can start to add some sort of more vibey plugins to this. Now the Kramer Tape plugin is really fantastic at adding some really nice saturation and just to make the vocal nice and fat and sit in the mix. Now, I'm not going to mess around too much with Kramer Tape. All I'm going to do is turn up the record level just so we're getting some extra saturation.
Stained glass paint on the window light, pouring through bright like you and I.
To me, that vocal is now starting to sound like a record. Now, there's one more thing that we can add with this, and it's what I tend to do with a lot of vocals that I really want to sit really forward in the mix, and that's to bring in a limiter. With the Waves Horizon bundle, we can use the L1. What I want to do with this plugin is just to shave off the peaks and just make it sit really forward in the mix. The first thing I'm going to do is bring back the threshold and the out ceiling as well.
Falling deeper, I don't know you yet, but I believe you change me, you trace me back to where it all began.
And now let's take all the inserts out and see how it sounded before.
Who was I before I saw your shade? I was hiding underneath my shame. Who was I before I saw your face? You found my heart in an empty place.
So I've got all my insert effects sorted out. Now what I'd like to do is to add some reverb and delay to the vocal. The Waves Horizon bundle comes with TrueVerb, which is a really usable reverb. I've got a couple of favourite presets that I use on TrueVerb, and you can access them by clicking here. And I'm going to choose New York Plate. As I've got this reverb in an insert, I'm going to turn the direct mix off, and I'm going to bring up the balance.
Falling deeper, I don't know you yet, but I believe you can change me, you trace me back to where it all began. You gave up everything that you loved.
Now instantly that's feeling much better and it's feeling more cohesive in the mix. But let's bring up the decay time just a little bit.
Falling deeper, I don't know you yet, but I believe you can change me, you trace me back to where it all began. You gave up everything that you loved to make a better home for us, yeah. I'm falling deeper now.
I'd also like to use a delay with this vocal and also to run that delay into that reverb at the same time. And with Horizon, you get H delay, which is a really great sounding delay. I want the delay on this vocal to be vintage, but I also want it to be stereo. So what I'm going to do is turn lo-fi on and also ping pong.
Can change me, you trace me back to where it all began.
Now for me, for this song, I think the delay is a little bit slow. I'm going to leave it on the host setting as I want it to sync with the track. And I'm going to bring back the delay time. Let's make it 16ths.
Falling deeper, I don't know you yet, but I believe you can change me, you trace me back to where it all began. You gave up everything that you loved to make a better home for us, yeah. I'm falling deeper now.
Now let's see what this vocal sounded like before we actually added any of the plugins.
Falling deeper, I don't know you yet, but I believe you can change me, you trace me back to where it all began. You gave up everything that you loved to make a better home for us.